live.
And welcome back. As promised prior to the break, I told you I'd have the CEO of the Planning Development Authority, that is Mr. Alan Gilbert, and he's here with us to share a bit about that department. But before we get into what they do, I think it is important to let the general public know who Mr. Alan Gilbert is. Some of you may see the familiar face now on television and say, oh, just like I did. Grenada Solid Waste Management Authority. No longer Grenada Solid Waste Management Authority, now the PDA. So Mr. Gilbert, thank you so much for agreeing to come and share with us here on the Spice Morning as we continue to inform the general public on different departments of the government and what they do. But first up, as I said, can we just have a little introduction as to who really is Mr. Gilbert?
Well, good morning to you, Sherry and Noel, and good morning to listeners and viewers wherever you are. I'm grateful to GIS for inviting me here. So let me give you a little bit about myself. I was born in Grenada. I lived here all my life. I have very humble beginnings, and let me first say everybody's ethical standards or everybody's perception of the world is based on a worldview system, and I have a worldview system. It's biblical, it's biblically based, and that has grounded me in ethics and morals, and I just wanted to put that out. So I went to school in Current Government Primary School, and subsequently went to the Grenada Boys Secondary School, the GBSS. Because of my financial standing in life, I had to go to work immediately and couldn't go to college. And I started working, and as soon as I started working, I started saving. And I immediately went on to do architectural drafting and also AutoCAD. And that's what brought me into the scope of drawings and designs. It was something I loved to do. I always wanted to be an architect. And after that, I stayed working for a while with Lewis Trucking. I became the project coordinator for a few years. My first job was as a site clerk at the Ramada, now the Radisson.
Okay.
So I started there and then went on to the Lewis Trucking Equipment and Construction Services. Following that, somewhere after the hurricane, when everybody was getting lots of jobs, including myself, I branched off and started my own small business, Gilbert Designs and Construction Services. Following that, because of my drafting, I was able to land a job at the National Water and Sewage Authority, NAWASA, as a civil technician, and that's when I moved. After that, I moved to the Grenada Solid Waste Management Authority. That's where you probably know me from. But subsequently, I went on to the GIZ. That's with the G-Cruise project.
Okay.
That is still ongoing, and my contract expired in 2024. And now I'm at the PDA.
All right.
So that's me. In terms of my academic background, I did studies in civil and structural engineering. I did studies in waste management, studies in project management, and also in business, international trade, logistics, and procurement. So the combination, I believe, is well fitting for this role.
Well placed you where you are now. So you were there, you mentioned, you gave us, the journey. But at the PDA, what really is the vision and the mission? Because as I mentioned in the introductory remarks, most people view that department of the government as just, someone have a plan, they send it there, you check it, you see whether it's approved or not, and that's it. So just share with us a bit about the mission and the vision.
Okay. And let me hasten to say that the Planning and Development Authority, by virtue of the word authority, is now a statutory body governed by the Physical Planning, Development and Control Act of 2016. And so it's a statutory body and no longer the Physical Planning Unit or Department of Government. Okay. So it is, so the vision and mission. Well, our vision is in 3 parts really, or 4 parts, really, to become a highly professional organization, and we hope to improve efficiency in our service. We hope that we would have superior customer service, and one of the most important under this category is that the PDA becomes a well-respected organization. Out in other industrialized countries, if there's such an authority is coming to your property, everything will get in order in a flash. And we want Grenadians to understand that the Planning and Development Authority is supposed to be a regulatory body, and people must respect the laws that govern it and the regulations and try to abide by them. So the vision is to make PD a well-respected regulatory authority. Further to that, I believe people are important, and another vision is that PDA becomes a workplace of choice, a place where people feel valued, a place where there is professionalism, yet it's very cordial. And thirdly, we hope that PDA will become a regional leader in physical development. And when we say this, we want to see Grenada's building stock being climate resilient and climate smart. We want to be the best tourist destination, where we clean, where we're modern, where we're well organized. We don't want to see traffic becoming a hindrance to development, and so on and so forth. We also want to become a leader in safe and orderly construction, and we have lots of construction. We've seen a good move in terms of health and safety on the workplace, but we want to see that improve. We want to also see good construction practices that leads to more resilient buildings, and we want to be an innovation driver. And our final vision statement is to be financially sustainable. And,
most important of all.
well, yes, and in Grenada's budget retreat recently, it was encouraged that statutory bodies do their best to become financially sustainable. I would say at the moment we're not, and we're run by subventions of government, and we're hoping very soon that we could become financially sustainable.
Okay, so exactly what are some of the key functions of the Planning and Development Authority?
So the Planning and Development Authority has 3 core functions, and under these you could probably find all of the other functions. The first is to manage sustainable development of land. And by that we mean that applications are made to the Planning and Development Authority. They would submit, persons will submit, or developers would submit architectural, structural, geographical, electrical or mechanical drawings. And the PDA will review those drawings against the building codes, the building guidelines, the land development regulations, and we'll either approve, we'll either defer for changes, or we would refuse that development. Under sustainable land development also, we're responsible for doing a physical plan for Grenada. Physical plan, it would involve zoning, it would involve factoring all of Grenada's, and I'll probably speak more about that later, I'm sure, all of Grenada's plans, protected areas, and integrating that into one master plan so that we could use for sustainable development of Grenada. The second core function is monitoring, control, and enforcement. This is where our inspectorate will go out into the various communities, and they would inspect development or projects to ensure that they approve. And if they're unapproved, the intention is to stop unapproved developments.
Before you go to the next one, I'm very happy that you mentioned that one as one of your core functions. But how effective is that aspect within the PDA in terms of your officers going out, viewing the various construction sites, saying, okay, this is not approved, and so in terms of getting results, and what are the penalties?
Right, so PDA has been challenged with a resource issue, and because of that, there is not sufficient workforce and equipment to execute that function efficiently and effectively. But we are currently working, and we have already strategized how we would improve that that function. So at the moment, the team continues to work, and so far, even after I've been there, there has been a little improvement as the morale has been lifted a bit. But I would say they're doing their job.
Okay. Yeah. Right. So you've been there a few months now. What has it been like? You moved from, you said it's a statutory body now, but coming out of private sector, still the statutory bodies still have some similarities to the public sector. So how has it been for you in terms of moving from making that particular transition?
Yes. So thanks for that question. And before I speak about that, let me just give the third function, because I think it's very important and it's something that's kind of missed in Grenada, which is the protecting the natural and cultural heritage of Grenada. Under that function, I'll just read these notes I have here. We maintain a list of historical and architectural buildings, monuments, and sites. We issue preservation orders and abatement notices for protection. Declare and manage environmental protected areas and heritage zones, and integrate heritage protection into development plans and review and construction near heritage sites. And so we've had a few issues in Grenada relative to here is a protected area or here's a social area and infringements. And so we're hoping that this function will become mainstream. Again, I'll tell you a little bit more about that later on, I'm sure, in our discussion. And your question was, how has it been since in my first...
Yes, making that transition.
So that transition for me, obviously this role of a CEO is new. I've been in management at the Grenada Solid Waste Management Authority. I've managed my own business for some time, and I think I am also in my training, especially in advanced training, advanced master's degrees programs now teaches a lot about leadership. But while leadership is trained, I believe a lot is inherent, and I believe somewhere I've received extrinsically and also intrinsically leadership qualities that has positioned me well for this role. The transition from a senior technical advisor to GIZ, from GIZ to the PDA as a CEO, was interesting. It was new, but I think I quickly got in, and my first few months was just about onboarding, getting to learn the staff, understand the organization, and second month I spent time drafting a strategic roadmap for taking PDA to the next 3 years. And now we're in rollout phase. So I think reason I feel as though it occurred pretty smoothly and it exceeded my expectations.
So what are some of the initiatives that you've placed in your 3-year roadmap that you've rolled out thus far or have intentions of rolling out?
Yes. So we had a launch recently, a press launch. We invited the media. Unfortunately, all of it wasn't aired, but I just want to share some of those initiatives. The PDA is going to be very active, and probably we've been very ambitious with our strategic roadmap in putting a lot in place, and we hope to try to get them all done. But so far, we have began procurement of a BIS system, which is a business information system. That system is an integrated system, but importantly, it allows for persons and developers to submit applications electronically. So we hope this will come sometime in the first half, probably more than likely the first quarter of 2026, but procurement has begun, and we are highly anticipating that part, that module of the BIS system. It integrates other core business functions like human resource management, procurement, and some other internal systems. We've also rolled out, mid-September, we've rolled out a fast-track system. This fast-track system now allows persons who have been clamoring for faster approvals that would typically take between 30 to 60 days to get that done within 5 to 10 days.
That's so ambitious.
It is, and we have seen the success so far. We've had a few fast-track applications, and we've dealt with them already. Also, we have rolled out, or we will be rolling out a check consultant framework. So this will be rolled out somewhere in January 2026, and this is where we would put together a list of professionals, architects, and engineers and other related professionals, where companies will engage them privately as a check consultant. The check consultant would then advise the developer from design phase all the way through construction phase.
Okay.
And they would be contracted by the developer, but they will report to the PDA. Okay. So this is where we can see a smoother flow, workflows from design. The consultant would then advise them of the regulations to ensure that the design abides with our regulations and codes, and then construction also abides. So this will help the design process, especially for large construction projects where there may be environmental and social impact assessments. And finally, we have just two more. We hope to roll out the appeals tribunal also in 2026. This is when our monitoring and compliance inspectors goes out if they have made a decision and the person or persons feel disenfranchised or it was a wrongful judgment against them, they can appeal to that tribunal.
Okay.
And have recourse. And then there's the Natural and Cultural Heritage Advisory Committee, which we hope to roll out in January 26, which I mentioned about.
So apart from those that you've just mentioned, are there any others that you think are worthy of mention, or you prefer to hold them until a later date?
Well, we could mention them while they are part of the strategic roadmap. I could indicate to Grenada that as part of the Act, we are mandated to do a physical plan for Grenada, and that is something that is very important to our national development and to sustainable development in Grenada. And we having issues now with overuse of agricultural lands, and we have industry in residential areas, and encroachment into marine protected areas, encroachment into forestry protected areas, and so on. So we hope to do a physical plan that will integrate all of Grenada's plans that we have so far. We have there's the Grenada National Sustainable Development Plan of 2020 to 2035. There's Vision 75, and all of these, there's the Blue Economy, and all of these have elements of physical development in it that we hope that somewhere 2026, 2027, we'll be able to do that master plan, which will integrate all of those plans and help guide Grenada's physical development. So that's one. We also hope to move into doing certifications of occupancy and certification of phase completion of projects. So this will help, and we'll work along with the banks and financial institutions, credit unions, to make this a reality. There is something under the Act called a special enforcement area. There may be areas that we can designate as special enforcement areas with special regulations. For instance, there's a beach in Paradise in Carriacou where persons have been setting up commercial stalls, and they're being done ad hocly, and we hope that by demarcating that area, we could put special regulations for the buildings. So it is
structured properly.
Structured properly, correct.
And which begs me to ask you this question, though. You mentioned about the enforcement and so on, your officers going out, but if there is construction or so within communities, and sometimes you go certain places and realize construction literally into the roadside and so, what is the channel for, or is there a channel where concerned citizens can report and ask for assistance in terms of regulations as to how constructions are being done?
Yes, well, there's a help desk. They can call the 440-2471, and we have somebody stationed for taking complaints. This will be forwarded to the monitoring and compliance and enforcement department, and an individual will go out and figure out what the issue is and make recommendations, or if stop notices are required, that also will be done. They will follow the Act and deliver the necessary enforcement.
You've mentioned a lot of important areas and a lot of through your strategic plan. Everything, as people normally say, everything sounds really good on paper. Mm-hmm. But what is the plan, or what is the CEO's plan in terms of guiding his team to get that particular message out to stakeholders?
Well, this will take a consulted and a consolidated communications policy, and we will be working on that as a strategic direction. And we'll be developing that policy. We've already begun to work on our website, which should be rolled out very soon, maybe within a month time or so. We'll be working on maintaining our social media platforms, Facebook, and we'll also be joining YouTube to keep disseminating information. Frequently asked questions, we'll be dealing with that. We also plan to have lots of community engagements and also school engagements through the young ones. So persons are now aware, because we've recognized that there's a deficiency in the area of persons knowing even who the PDA is and what we do. So we intend to have constant PR, constant sensitizing of the public on things that we're doing and what is coming and development projects. And we hope to have more you on your program some more and do more GIS interviews and continue the communication to the wider public. We think that's so important.
And certainly, and finally from Meadow, you mentioned about, I think it was the Fast Check, where you would organize to have people. But does that mean, and in terms of fees and so, will you be restructuring your fees? Would they need to know that there will be additional fees for these services?
Right, so for Fast Track, so our regular fees must be passed through Parliament, and those are fixed. We have made requests for the improvement of those fees.
Oh, adjustments, okay.
For adjustment of those fees, because they're really outdated and really on the cost, if I may say so. And we're hoping that we will see the amendments sometime in the future. However, for the Fast Track, we do have a fee structure calculator where it's a little more than the regular, of course, because there's lots more systems that we have to put in place to get those. So if you call in, you can find out how much it will cost. Maybe I would say that a typical 1,200 square foot residential house would normally cost by fees $265. May cost you in the region of $1,000+ to do.
All right. So all these are things that people need to bear in mind.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Any final words you'd like to share?
Well, I just want to encourage the nation and every developer to consider the building guidelines, Grenada's building guidelines, and the OECS building code, and to try to have your designers design with that in mind, and it will make both their submissions easier to get through the review process, and it will make the work easier for Planning and Development Authority. And we want to just inform the public that the Act says that no individual should commence development without prior authorization or approval from the Planning and Development Authority. And so we want you to...
Should it be written approval and not verbal?
Written approval, yes. And so if you don't know, please feel free to call the authority, and we'll be happy to guide you through how you can apply. And of course, that is going to be on our website very soon, so all the resources will be there at the click of a button.
Thank you very much, viewers. We were speaking there with Mr. Alan Gilbert. He is the CEO of the Physical Planning Department?
Planning and Development
Planning
Authority.
and Development Authority, right. We have to get that.
Yes.
It's no longer the Physical Planning Unit, but the Planning Development Authority. And we will be having him back here on the Spice Morning as time progresses, so that we can keep you updated and informed of any changes, what you need to know about building codes, and so as not to fall, on the wrong side. As he mentioned, construction has to be done within the codes, and you have to ensure that you have the authorization from the PDA in order to start construction. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we return, we will be hearing more about what's happening. As we know, October is a month that we celebrate cancer, we celebrate information, financial information, and also